What's up, everybody, and welcome to another live that we're doing here at VO Fitness. I've been trying to do these daily, but my schedule last week has been just absolutely crazy. So I'm going to do a quick live today. And let me just change the ticker right there because today is M&M Mondays, myths and misconceptions. And today, what we're going to be talking about are a couple of myths that surrounds what we're supposed to be talking about this week, and which is basically how exercise affects your brain and what are the positive effects of exercise and some of the negative effects of exercise, believe it or not, because everything actually happens through your brain. Everything affects your brain through your muscles and everything. So, without trying to make this into a um, theoretical paper when it comes to injury and how the body actually shifts its attention from one area to another, and it'd be boring you guys. Um, what I am going to do is I'm going to talk today about two myths that surround exercise and how exercise affects your brain. So the one thing is that the you can confuse muscle. This has been something that actually really irks me all the time. Whenever I hear muscle confusion and this and that, your muscles are neurologically wired to your brain through the nervous system, right? And that goes right up your spine, blah, 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 and attaches to the nerve endings in your brain, and different chemicals fire, stimulating different processes, and different thoughts can actually stimulate different firing patterns that are um, hardwired. I'm going to use the word hardwired at a subconscious level so we don't have to think about it. For example, me doing hardwired, I don't have to think about the neurons that are being fired from my brain to tell my fingers flex and extend. I don't have to tell proteins to synthesize it themselves, contracting the actin myosin filaments in the sliding filament theory to shorten the muscle, and then shorten the muscle in the opposite end to extend the fingers. Everything is a pull. We'll get into that a little bit later. Now, what I wanted to talk about this week is how exercise can actually positively affect your brain, and with different types of neurological firing patterns that happen in your brain, releasing different chemicals, and how these are feel good chemicals and blah blah blah. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But today, like I said, like this whole concept of muscle confusion. You do not want, if you're holding a book, for example, right? There are certain firing patterns that actually happen when you actually lift a book. You don't have to think about it. You just know I need to lift a book. So my brain is already wired to say, okay, I need to fire this amount in my shoulder, in my neck, in my chest, in my spine, but I need a little bit more in my biceps and in my forearm so I can actually grip. We don't have to think about this. Our brain just does this automatically. Now, I'm using something simple as a book right now. Well, I could get into a little bit more complex stuff. Like, let's say we do a bicep curl, okay? And this whole concept, when I hear muscle confusion, what I hear is I'm going to fire in a different way to get the effect that I want, or a different effect on my muscle to stimulate the muscle a little bit differently so I can stimulate growth, because what we're trying to do there is trying to um, change a firing pattern so we don't fall into a so we don't fall into what's the word I'm looking for? We don't fall into a habitual pattern. While habits are good, and we'll get into that a little bit later, staying in a habit is not a good thing because we become complacent and we start to deteriorate and we start to atrophy. Now, one really good thing I like um, about that kind of concept is not the term muscle confusion. However, it's just different. You just apply it in a different position. That's all it is. Forcing the brain to think of a different firing pattern to utilize when you're actually performing the movement. I don't like the term muscle confusion because muscle confusion to me is brain turns off the muscle when the muscle's supposed to turn on because the brain is confused. Can you imagine how much of a problem that you're going to have if you do that, if you do something like that? It will be epic. Epic in the sense that you are going to be hospitalized in a heartbeat. Because if you have your bicep turning off when you're doing a bicep curl with 10 pounds, it's not 10 pounds of force that's happening at your elbow. It's a lot more. It's 10 pounds times the distance. Now I'm going to get a little bit sciencey and a little bit geeky, so mind me. Just bear with me. So it's the distance from the application of force, which is your fist, to the pivot point, which is your elbow. So it's this distance multiplied that by 10. So if this distance is, let's say, I don't know, 24 inches, maybe more, maybe let's say 30 inches, say 30 inches. 30 inches times 10 pounds of force. That's 300 foot inches of torque that's happening at my elbow. So if I don't have proper stimulation at the bicep and at the tricep, when I come up, Newton's third law of motion is going to dictate that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So my elbow is going to want to come forward because I'm coming this way. My elbow wants to come this way, right? So at 300 inch pounds, so at every inch, you're introducing 300 pounds at every inch of movement from here to here. Now, mind you, yes, because there's an arc, it becomes less and less and less the closer you come towards the center of your body, because the muscle becomes, because the distance. This is going even further. We'll get into this a lot more in another, probably later on. Just right now, let's just bear with me. So the closer the pivot point or the application of force comes towards your body, the less amount of force is required to actually be on the muscle that's being utilized the most, which is why we have that whole peak and valley, right? The valley, peak, and valley is because of that specific thing. So the closer it comes to my body, the less amount of force is required to maintain that tension. The further away it comes to my away from my body, the exact same thing. Is it? Can you change that? Yes, you can change it by applying different forces, but that's not what we're trying to talk about right now. I'm just trying to give you how complex this actually really is. Now, when I hear simple terms like muscle confusion, you can tell why I get a little bit antsy about it, because it's like, you don't want muscle confusion. I think that's a wrong term because of the science behind it that backs it. It's not confusion. It's different application, different force, different angle, different application, different force. That's all it is. Different angle, different position. That's all you're changing. It's not confusion. You don't want confusion. Confusion means it's going to turn off. Muscle turns off and it turns on. If it turns off, it needs to turn on, you're going to have a lot of problems. Now, before we get into the next segment, I want to talk to you guys about a program that I'm going to be running. It's a totally free program. Um, it's about a couple decades worth of my knowledge that I've put together in a 7-day free program. I call it the 7-Day King Blueprint. And every single day from Sunday till Saturday, we're going to be doing live calls. And I'm going to be giving you guys that's the Zoom link, my top tips on how to set your mindset. And because, to be honest with you, if you can't set your mindset properly in anything, not just fitness, in anything, if you don't have the proper tools to do it, then you won't be able to achieve whatever you're trying to get to. I know I've done this before so many times, and every time that I've had no blueprint with it, I would always fail. I would always it was always a bad scene. So I, through the decades of me searching far and wide, and different programs, different this, different that, I created this 7-day blueprint to help me achieve and stay on track with the stuff that I've done. Sometimes I falter. I'm human, so forgive me. It happens. But whenever I apply these tools, everything just seems to fall into place the way it's supposed to. Now, all you have to do is real simple. Just click the Zoom link below. Set it in your calendar. It's every day at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is Toronto, New York, Miami time. And I'll see you guys on the call. On the calls, seven calls, so 7 of them, Sunday through Saturday. Now, getting back to what we're talking about with Myths and Misconception Mondays. The second thing that I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to the second myth that I want to talk about when it comes to exercise and brain and your brain, it has to do with injury. Now, we have this concept that when we get hurt, give it some time and you'll get better. While this is true in a sense, yes, if you give your body enough time, it will heal itself. What doesn't end up happening is recreating the original neural firing patterns that you had before the injury. So remember, our bodies are actually lazy pieces of, I'm going to steal a quote from Star Trek. What did it call? Beings of water and meat and water. And that's basically what we are. So if we don't heal the neurological aspect of it, we'll never be able to heal and perform to levels that we had from before. Why? Again, we've already created a new neural firing pattern and we don't need the old one. So our brain is like, yeah, I don't need that. I just toss it over here. I'll just put it over here until I need it again. And if it never happens again, then never need it. And the injury will still technically be there because the old firing pattern. And when I mean injury, it's because the neural firing pattern has applied tension, extra tension elsewhere. And this is where imbalances come in. You starting to see what I'm trying to get at? If you can't repair the initial issue, the initial problem, and you can't bring it back so that, this muscle can fire just as equal as the rest of them, you're going to have other underlying issues that come with it. Low back pain, um, shoulder pain, neck pain, wrist pain. Wrist pain, I mean like carpal tunnel syndrome, ankle pain, knee pain, hip pain. I can go on and on and on and on. Every single joint will suffer because that original neural firing pattern that you had before the injury hasn't been taken care of. So now there's more stress on muscles that shouldn't have more stress because they're compensating when there's no need to compensate. And this is why it's so important to get the body functioning the way it is, the way it was. Now, you might be thinking, okay, how the hell do I do that, John? I actually used to do this regularly. And when I mean regularly, was my practice: was find the weakness, find the imbalance, and I don't want to say correct it, and I don't want to say fix it. I want to reestablish that muscle with tension. That's what I want. That's what I used to do. The results were astounding. But what ended up happening because of COVID, I'm no longer allowed to touch people. So what do I do now? There are certain range of motion exercises that actually you can do on your own, and they're mind blowing. What can come out of it? I'm helping one guy right now virtually. He's in Atlanta. I'm here in Toronto, and he's doing great. So, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, send me a message. Send me a message. Book some time in so that we can sit down and talk and see. Okay, well, what's really ailing you? And it's an hour call, just so you can get a better idea of how to go about doing stuff with your exercise and everything. But again, the best way to do it, the best way to get started is the 7-Day King Blueprint. 7-Day King Blueprint, because it does have a lot of very valuable tips and tricks to help you get started with anything, because in this we actually start with your mindset. We don't start with exercise. We don't start with nutrition. I know one fitness trainer out there, she calls it squats and broccoli. We don't start with that. Neither does she. She's a really, I had her on the Fitness Oracle, actually. Sabrina Sayer. And yeah, she said, she goes, best thing that you can do is set your mind properly, get the mindset proper, and then do the squats and broccoli, like she calls it, which is great. I'm not stealing it. That's what she says. And that's it, guys. I really hope to see you guys on Sunday. Just click on the Zoom link. I'll post it with the notes underneath this video, so you guys have easy access to the booking link. And that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow when we go into the how-to and how exercise affects brain function and how it helps improve brain function. But until then, you guys have a good night, and be strong and get better.